and I'm joined once again by Andrea Rose Washington.
Hello.
She is the author of Adlithia, Elendil and Almond Tree's Magic. So if you like sci-fi and fantasy, don't be sure to check our link tree out in the description of this episode. Also joined by Jocelyn Short.
Hello.
She is a graphic designer and digital artist. Also, she has some awesome paintings as well as character concepts. You want to check her out. Link to her website will be here as well. Today, we are discussing Dungeons and Dragons. Honor Among Thieves, which I was not aware was on streaming until Andrea.
I didn't know either.
I didn't know until like because I don't have cable. I just have streaming,
Okay.
and it came up and it was like now on Paramount, and I was like, what? And
Yeah.
then so I was like, oh, we're watching this. I turn it on today. Let's do this.
I would have never. I was looking at movie times and everything yesterday because I'm like, I don't know, maybe I missed it. Maybe it's too late. But with this new information, a whole new world has been opened up to me.
I'm so happy because I was waiting for it to come out so I could like buy it and watch it, and I was like, oh, it's streaming on Paramount.
Yeah, streaming has kind of ruined my purchases lately because that's all I pretty much do is I plan on buying this movie and then it comes up on one of the services I already have and it's like, oh, looks like that's where I'm watching it. Question.
Yes.
Have either of you watched the 2000 Dungeons and Dragons film with Marlon Wayans in it?
I didn't know that thing.
What?
Now I got to go.
I will after this.
Yeah, I think in 2000 there was a movie that came out, Dungeons and Dragons with Marlon Wayans. There was a bunch of other people, but that's the main person I remember. I remember there was a light-skinned girl who played an elf in it, but I mainly remember him because he had this weird, one of those kind of like hood hats, but it looks like it's got this little weird like winter ear things that pop off to the side. I'm like, why? It looks so out of place in the film to me, but there we are. Marlon Wayans in the Dungeons and Dragons movie. It was silly, and I was wondering if that was going to be a continuation of this one, but I don't think it is.
Did it feel like a scary movie, but Dungeons and Dragons?
It was kind of just campy. It was a campy, comedic take on Dungeons and Dragons. Hey, Janelle, how you doing? So yeah, I watched this last night. And then I watched the beginning of it again today to get a feel for it. I liked it for the most part. It was enjoyable. It was comedic. There was some action in it. Spoiler alerts if you out there listening haven't watched the film, but it was out in theaters first and it just now is on streaming. So you've had plenty of time to watch
2 months.
the movie. But I have to, as a courtesy, at least say that lots of Easter eggs were in this one for anybody that either played Dungeons and Dragons or read any of the Forgotten Realms novels, which I did. I read a lot of R.A. Salvatore's Dark Elf trilogy, the Icewind Dale trilogy, which I saw mentioned, not by name, but I saw the map when in the opening crawl, they have this little map where they go down before you get to the prison scene in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw Icewind Dale. I was like, oh, okay. Icewind Dale, I'm familiar with that from the trilogy. And then they mentioned Baldur's Gate. And of course, the one dude Forge is the Lord of Neverwinter, which is also from Forgotten Realms. And I do think they mentioned Sword Coast as well. Michelle Rodriguez, Chris Pine, Justice Smith. I don't know the dude's name, but he's a guy I know from Bridgerton. I forget that actor's name.
Oh, Rajay. That's Lenar.
something Page.
Yes, Rajan Jean something Page.
We have Google.
We do.
I can visualize his name. I just cannot pronounce it. Like I can see it. I just can't pronounce it.
Reggae John Page.
See?
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
I
I think this was well casted, well acted for the most part. It is what it is. If you weren't here for it, I don't think you're gonna have a good time. But this wasn't a film that didn't seem to take itself too seriously.
It did not
at all. I like the action for what we got. I like Michelle Rodriguez in it. Her other relationship was kind of weird, but when we get to that part, I was like,
I was very shocked at the cameo.
Yeah,
I was very
yeah, it was a strange cameo.
oh, so he's just having fun. Okay.
He's got a type. That's
Yeah, I
what.
was like, what is he? Is he like? I'm like, is my boy like Rocket Raccoon without the raccoon suit now? He's just a little dude. I'm like, since since Guardian is over, he's just still doing his little guy thing.
I don't know. I don't
What
know.
you guys think of this overall?
I loved it. I thought it was spectacular. Like
Okay.
it was phenomenal. To
Like,
me.
like I'm gonna own this movie when it's not on stream anymore. Like
Okay.
I like this movie was so much fun. And every single time I watch it, I see something else that I missed from the time before because there's so many little like small details. Um like and I loved the chemistry of the cast. I loved how Chris Pine's character did not take it too seriously. No one was a stereotype in this. No one was the stereotypical I can never make mistakes. I can never do this. Like they were very much real people like playing this game.
Yeah.
So going on this quest. So I loved that it was I love this movie.
Yeah, I loved it because like I've played D&D before, and I really liked how I could feel the moments where they were doing initiative checks. Like I feel like I want to go back and go on YouTube, look up the writers, see if there's interviews with the writers, because I feel like they had so much fun. Because I feel like they were just writing this like massive D&D campaign, but it's a movie,
Yeah.
and it was so good. Also, Michelle Rodriguez, I loved her in this. I feel like she does these roles. Like she picks these kinds of roles where she's like, yeah, I'm a tough woman. Yeah. Yeah. You know, that's her in these movies. But I feel like the dialogue is always terrible. The characterization of her in every other movie is terrible. But in this, I feel like it's a role for her. You know, she got to do all that badassery stuff she likes to do, but there's a real character there. So I love that. And she killed it in this to me. I loved everybody's characterizations. I love that Reggae John Page. I love that he was the paladin kind of character, and I love that they took him out of the movie for a long time because he was more heroic than our main character.
Yeah, he was better than everybody.
Yeah.
And they seemed kind of heartbroken when he left the team. Like, where are you going? He's like, this is your quest.
It like reminded me of like he was a non-playable character. Like he had his set lines, his set roles, and it was like someone who aided the quest but was not a part of the quest. Yeah. And it reminded like whenever I play like a game and there's those characters who you have to stick to for certain parts, and then the moment that part's over, it's like, well, I leave you now. Good luck. I'm gonna go about my way. He felt like that type of character, and I loved it. I love that they played that. He was the person they had to find. He helped them, and then when his task was done, deuces.
Inadvertently, he was kind of a temporary dungeon master. He was like the game master, just to get the mission to get this helmet. He was like, that was his part. So he would have the book and go through where they had to go, where it was, how they were going to find it, what they had to get through. He was trying to explain the traps. And of course, my boy Simon immediately messes up the initial trap before he's finished explaining this complicated step. Like, even if he hadn't messed up, I felt like they weren't going to get that part right anyway. When he was explaining, it was like a real long soliloquy of what they had to do. And my boy just had to put his foot up on the bridge. It destroys the entire bridge. Yeah, I liked it. I enjoyed it for what it was. It starts out really cool with the prison thing and whatever that thing was that ends up going into their cell initially. And Chris Pine's character is trying to explain, hey, she doesn't like to be disturbed when she's having her potato, but he's like, shut up. He's like, all right, go off, handle your business. He knows how this ends. Anybody feel like Chris Pine is just Chris Pining no matter what movie he's in?
Yeah, but it works because like a lot of these roles that he gets cast in, he's very much the prince, and that's just the energy that Chris Pine brings to stuff.
And we love that for him.
So it's one of the things where it really works for stuff like this. Yes, to answer your question, yes, but I liked it. I also liked that he wasn't a Prince Charming necessarily in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
He was a bard who was getting it wrong all
Yeah.
the time.
And I loved the misdirection in the very beginning because they don't show the face of the prisoner when he arrives and then
Yeah.
goes. So like, oh, okay, we're starting with them. Like Chris Pine is the one like in shackles, and it's not. That dude was literally in the movie for like 30 seconds and then he's gone.
Yeah, that was crazy. Good opener. And then they have their, I guess, appeal or to try and get a pardon. And that was a funny scene where they actually break themselves out. And I forget what the race is of that one character that's on like the tribunal, but he's like, but we agreed to your pardon. Like, you breaking out for no reason. We was supposed to let you go.
Like, you could be free and now you're going to go back to jail. Like,
I gotta wonder how the people that played like knee deep in the streets with Dungeons and Dragons, if they geeked out over this film or whether. I haven't seen that many reviews to see if they're complaining about it, whether they thought it was good or what. But I enjoyed it, and you guys seem like you enjoyed it as well for what they gave us.
yeah, I didn't see any really negative reviews. Like, I didn't see anyone on any social media like bomb this movie.
Yeah.
And this community, not just the Dungeons and Dragons community, but like sci-fi fantasy community sometimes has a habit of, if you don't do what they love perfect, they're going to let us know that they were unhappy.
Yeah.
And so the fact that I didn't see a lot of that with this movie made me really happy. It definitely is not. I will say some of the advertisements I saw for it made me think this might be a little bit more serious than what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And while it did have serious elements to it, it really was just a fun movie for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
I do want to say one of the arcs that I really liked was I forget his name, but he was the wizard. He was the mage in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Simon, Justice Smith.
Yeah. I really liked his arc because I feel like his arc is the way it feels when you play a video game and you're a mage. Like, you're really bad at it for a really long time.
That's how it is.
And it sucks. It feels bad because you can't fight. You can't physically do stuff. You only have your magic. And if you're bad at your magic, you're bad at the game you're playing for a really long time, and it feels bad. And then his arc was just like getting his self-esteem up. And I loved that. That was awesome.
And Hugh Grant, I think, played Forge, the con man that was part of the crew. He was good in his role as the slimy. Like, you knew he was going to betray them. The moment he got that little fist bump when they got trapped in the time warp that the other secretive red wizard, her name was, but the red wizard, she does a little time bubble, and two of them get trapped. And my boy's like, make sure Kira is taken care of and take this. And he's like, I got you. You have my word. And when he did that, I was like, oh, he's not gonna live by what he says.
The moment he said the con man, I was like, don't ever trust him. Don't trust him. Like, he's a con man. Never trust someone who openly tells people I'm a con man. Like, don't trust him. Yeah. You were good without him. You could just deal with Simon. I liked when he was like telling the stories. Like, you might wonder, how did we, go on all these adventures and leave a small child at home? Mm-hmm. The answer is, we didn't. We brought her with us.
Yeah, I'm wondering where they got that pendant from that she had to let herself disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you mean like who specifically?
Like, where because we see them when he's going for this after we find out about him basically getting his wife killed, Kira's mother. They already had that pendant when she was little, though. You don't see where they got the pendant that she has that lets her disappear.
I thought Holga gave her the pendant after their first robbery.
Probably, but I don't know exactly when, though. Like, we see when they get everything else. We also don't see when Holga gets what she thinks of as Miramar's walking stick, which isn't a walking stick. And Simon's like, that's a dither step, whatever the hell he called it.
Yeah.
A teleportation stick. Like, that's his walking stick. He's like, that's not a walking stick.
That at least the stick does come out of nowhere. Like I know that they did talk about in the beginning that they were stealing stuff from folk, so it came from something. But yeah, we don't know like exactly where.
Yeah, and we don't find out till towards the end that the reason that his wife gets killed is he actually stole some treasure from the Red Wizards, and they mark their money is marked, so they know where it is. They know exactly where to go and get it. And he's like, I didn't even have the bad luck to be there when they arrived.
I have to say though, I did like that. Like Chris Pine's character was both like cocky and like humble at the same time. It was like he knew their limits, but was like, I'm just gonna believe we can do this because we have no other choice but to do this. And when he's like arguing with everyone, and he's openly admits, yes, this is all my fault. I am keenly aware that my life is the way that it is because of my actions. Yeah. Like I have no one to blame but myself, but I'm trying to fix it. And I really like that because sometimes having that main character always be like, I didn't do anything wrong, and then have to have that breakdown. It's just like, oh guys, this was not that. This was, okay, of course we failed. Yeah. But you need to keep going, otherwise you've only failed. Like you have to keep going.
It was a good spin on a bard trait, which is to increase morale, by him admitting that like I'm really bad at stuff, guys.
Yeah.
Pretty much useless the entire time. Everybody's like whooping ass, and he's just like, when they escaped from Neverwinter, and he's sitting there trying to cut break his hand ties on the stairs, and Hoga just whooping everybody which way, and he's just got him. Yeah.
So I missed the first time I watched it and the second time I watched it, but like I just like watched a little bit this morning, today.
Yeah.
And it was when they were walking down, and he was like, he asked her, "Do you have this?" And she's like, "Yeah, because I know you don't." Like it was already decided that he just was not going to help, that she was going to save them.
Yeah.
I love it though. She's the tank, she's the tank, and she's just like, I know who I am. I know what time it is.
And she's like, she got the rock out or the brick out and saved herself and saved all of them. Mm-hmm. But I love, like, it wasn't even a thought. He was like, I'm not even going to try because I know I ain't got this. But I also like how Doric, when he met her and like was explaining everything, she was like, what's the point of you being here?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm the plan. I make the plan guy. I'm the guy who makes the plan. We already know the plan. So what are you going to do? Well, if it fails, I'm going to make another one. So you're the guy who makes plans that fail? Like, I was like, oh, this is so, like, and their conversation, like, felt real. And I don't know. I loved it. I love that. Every little interaction.
That's always a bad time. And that's a real life situation, too. Street people that have, hey, let's go rob this or go steal this. And like, haven't you been caught so many times? You need a different, like, way of doing things. Like, hey, I got a lick we can hit. Like, nah, homie.
I'm like, nah, man, just come on.
Yeah. This is the wrong move. And you've proven that time and time again. At some point, you got to, get a new path in life. I guess he hasn't learned because he's just determined to bring his wife back and reunite with Kira. But my boy Forge set himself up something proper, didn't he?
Forge was Forge is a dumb smart guy, because like he can't see past his greed, but he can come up with good plans. And it's like, do you realize what you're doing? Like, you're aiding someone in taking over an entire city, but eventually they're going to want more and more power. So you're banking on being rich now, but who knows when they're going to come to you next? Like, you're not actually saving yourself. You're just like, you're really smart. Like, it was a good plan to get to where you were to get all the money. Great. But you can't see past your greed, and that's going to cost you.
Yeah. I feel like Forge and Edgen, whatever his name is, Chris Pine's character, if we were playing Dungeons and Dragons, they rolled as high as you could for charisma and got like nothing for everything else. Other constitution, strength, dexterity, everything else was like really low, but all their charisma attributes was like through the roof, and that's like how they get by.
Is luck. Luck is high.
Yeah.
I did like the scene when they were talking to the dead, and we kept getting little snapshots of like past events that kept happening.
Yeah.
And then they get to that one guy, and he's like, "Oh, I woke up the day of the battle, and then I just slipped on the rock."
And then you died in the battle, and he's like, "No,
I died there."
Oh, they had the wrong brother.
Yeah, they had the wrong brother. But aren't you this guy? No, I'm his brother. I'm this person. I was like, this is funny, and I like that, and I enjoy that. And how they have to ask 5 questions, otherwise the corpse stays reanimated. And he's like, "What kind of books do you like?" "All types." "Do you like cats or dogs?" "I'm a dog person." And it's just like, okay, these are random questions that you have to ask. Like, could you not keep them reanimated? Like, could you just ask them random? Come on, Chris Pine. Come on. You have asked 3 more questions.
I was honestly mad at the first dude when he was asking his crew questions, but because they had reanimated the dead person, he was answering yes to the question. Like, you're wasting questions right now, bro. Why are you? He's like, "Was that a question?" "Yes." Like, stop doing that, brother. Ask what you need to ask before, have it in mind before you reanimate this corpse, and not wasting your 5 questions. They just have to keep digging up people over and over again.
I love that, like that part of this movie where everyone is an idiot at some point, like, felt natural.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like when you're in this kind of scenario, like an RPG kind of scenario, everybody should be an idiot at some point. Like, somebody should be really dumb. I feel like we got that, but it didn't feel like the moments didn't feel dumb. It felt like, no, these people are really like stupid sometimes.
Yeah. I like Simon having to attune to the helmet and being confronted by an ancestor every time. Like, you ain't nothing, boy. What you doing? You again? You back? Didn't I smack you up the last time? And it was only until he had to take ownership of his status instead of letting someone else tell him what he was and just proclaim it and then fight back that he actually was able to attune to the helmet. It's kind of a cool.
Proud of him.
I know.
Why did you give that helmet up? Like, I was confused as to why he gave the helmet up after getting in and out of the treasure room or whatever.
Yeah, I thought he would keep it.
Like, because anything around you wouldn't work.
And that was one way to defeat Sophia.
I have to tell you, when I was watching this movie, I was taking notes, and one of my first notes was like, Sophia is like she's the real problem. Like, she's a real problem in this movie, and I'm like, I'm just waiting. I don't know why people aren't acting like she's a problem, but she's a problem.
You kept yourself hidden the whole time.
Like, she looked evil. Like, I'm sorry, you're not supposed to judge people, but homegirl looked evil.
Yeah.
Looked evil. Like, we all knew she was the bad one. Before they revealed it, we all knew she was the bad one.
Yes.
I'm sorry to judge you, but you look evil.
Yeah, like, also, I don't know if y'all play Dragon Age Inquisition or any of the Dragon Age games.
Yeah.
I used to.
This movie made me want to go back and play Inquisition all over again. Just especially with like Sophia and like the whole thing with the red the
red wizards.
Yeah. All that stuff reminded me of a lot of what's going on with the plot in Inquisition. I was like, it just got me hyped all over again. And I was like, yes, I'm ready for Inquisition and Dragon. Also, I'd never seen a fat dragon before.
That was hilarious.
That was hilarious.
She was like, that's one fudgy dragon. My boy, he was just sliding around trying to eat everybody. That and before we get to the dragon with Zenk, how about him whooping up on the undead things? by himself. Like, he's like, don't worry about them. I got them. Oh, so you're gonna solo all these fools? And he sure enough did. But then we realized you can't kill what's already dead, basically. So I wonder how that's gonna work with the ones that the Pudgy Dragon ate. Like, are they just gonna go through his digestive tract and then reanimate it after they get pooped out?
That part had me annoyed because I was just like, why y'all asking him questions? Like, Dip, he said to leave. Why y'all asking him questions about like, oh, what, you know? Because they're waiting after he killed all them things, and they're just like, oh, what do you mean? Just leave. What? No. And they respawn so fast, and I was like, oh my god, like y'all going too slow.
Yeah, my boy's like, you ready for round 2? Like,
his character, Paige's character, I love that he was just like how I said earlier, the NPC character, but like he was just like perfect, even down to his scripts. Like he could not improvise. He had to like speak like the same like sentences over, like in the same, like, you know how you can pick your answers and like they speak so proper. And he say like how he just talks and touches the fish and gets the cat baby back. And and he's like, when he was talking to the dead warrior, he's like, I will protect him. He's like, he said it and I believed him. And it was just like the way he has that like power over everyone. And it's like, dude, but like, I can't actually feel like I'm ever having a real conversation with you because I feel like all of your answers are pre-scripted. Still love you though. I still need you to come and save the day. But I think it was Chris Pine's character who's like, he's a horrible conversationalist.
Yeah. Can somebody else come ride next to this dude and talk to him? He also couldn't. He was like Drax from Guardians because he didn't get metaphors.
Yeah.
He was very confused by Mary. Like, no, you got to speak to him straight out. You can't have any metaphors or analogies. He's not going to get them. He's going to get everything misconstrued.
He's like, it sounds lovely. It is not. That was sarcasm.
Also, the part when they were on the beach and he walks off. That part cracked me up.
In a straight line?
Yes.
He's like, is he going to go around the rock? Nope. Straight over it. He's straight in the line. He's just.
Yep. Because I was waiting. I was like, what are they going to do? I literally thought what was going to happen was that they were just going to have him walk into the rock and then like stay walking into the rock. Like
that would have been hilarious.
That would have been a true NPC moment right there.
Yeah.
Like just moving.
And I was like,
hey, turn, dude, turn. Make a left. Just make a left.
Like, oh man, he's stuck in the geometry, stuck in the math. Oh my god.
Yeah, so this was like a fantasy heist film on multiple levels. Mm-hmm. A team kind of get together, the camaraderie of everything. Did you guess what was going to happen in the end with the tablet? Did you know? He was getting the whole thing was to get this tablet back to get his wife back. The entire time, that's all he's been talking about. To prove to Kira that what he wanted wasn't money, but to basically get their family back.
So, I'll say this: I never expected him to bring back his wife.
Okay.
Because like everything they said about like nothing, and if you get stabbed by their blade, nothing can save you. Yeah. The stone can bring someone back, even if they were stabbed by it. But when Xenix, X-E-N-X, Paige's character?
Zinc, yeah.
Zinc. When he said, basically, like, you may be pulling her back, you may be bringing her back to this life, but there's multiple lives. You may be taking her from the one she's currently living. Yeah. I thought that maybe he was going to just decide, I'm not going, just in case she possibly was living a new life, was reincarnated with someone else, he was going to be like, okay with not bringing her back. Did I expect for him to be bringing back one of his friends? No, but it was very interesting because he didn't bring back his wife, but he still brought back Kira's mother.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of knew that was going to happen when he looked at Kira, and Kira just nodded like, yes, go ahead and do it. He's like, I can only use this thing once.
Mm-hmm.
And she's I know.
Yeah.
But that's like, basically, I didn't know my mama, my real mom. I didn't know, but this is the one that I've known. This is when I've grown up. They had the flashbacks to them in various stages of her growing up, and the one that was there because Ed was lost without his wife and really probably wasn't in a mental state to raise his daughter. So she stepped in, and Holga pretty much raised her with him for the most part.
Yeah. I really liked the kind of meta take on the ending, mainly specifically for Michelle Rodriguez, because in a lot of her movies, it's almost like known that she dies at the end of her movies, and and then it just cuts to her, and she's stabbed, and I was like, of course, and I kind of liked. I felt like it was a spin on that. I don't know if it was her decision or just the writing or whoever, but I was like, I'm glad that they didn't let her like die for real.
Which film did she die? Because even in Fast, they bring her back.
Fair enough. Listen, I know she's in these Fast movies. I'm not the only Fast and Furious movie.
Don't finish that statement. Your statement should be you watched them all.
Listen, I'm gonna say this. I need to be educated on how much family is everything, because I only got this many knowledge.
You can't escape family.
So, and you'll never guess. You'll never guess which one it is. But
we're gonna talk offline.
As Bruce Lee would say, you have offended your family and you have offended the Shaolin Temple.
I'm ready to be educated. Listen, I know these movies is nonsense and I'm ready for it. It just hasn't happened.
Offline. We'll talk about this offline. Back to Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. But Resident Evil.
She does die in Resident Evil. She keeps dying in Resident Evil. Like every single time they bring her back, she dies.
Yep. That's the most prominent example that's in my mind. But I feel like every movie I've seen her in she's this character, only much more poorly written, and then she sacrifices herself so the rest of the group can go on.
Yeah, they just had her she was the ass whooping machine the entire film. Every scene that they had conflicts in, and multiple people. It wasn't like she was having all these one-on-ones. She's beating the brakes off of 2 and 3 and 4 people simultaneously where everybody's doing what they do. What do you guys think of Doric, the shapeshifter, when she finally got
love her?
So cool. I love that she was just cool. She didn't really have flaws for real, except that she didn't like humans. And I was like, that's justified.
We suck sometimes.
I was like, I'm not mad at you, she was dope. I loved everyone's abilities, like the use of everyone's abilities in this movie, but I really liked how they used her shape-shifting. I felt like it was really smart.
Yeah, it was crazy when she went in there to spy on them to find out, how the vault, and of course, oh girl just knew she was there, even though she was like a dragonfly up on the light fixture or whatever. And she screams. I was like, this is getting crazy. And that chasing was hilarious. And she just started changing into different, like a mouse. And
she was then a hawk, and then she was like a little ostrich thingy.
Yeah,
and turned into a deer.
Speaking of the shapeshifting, the VFX in this movie were so good. I felt they were top tier. Like nothing felt unbelievable to me. I was like, this is great. Y'all really nailing it.
Yeah. Overall, I enjoyed it. The action was good. The VFX were very good. The story was pretty good. It wasn't top notch, but I mean, it's Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know what people are going to expect from this, but it was in line with people that play RPGs. I think if you follow that, this you could vibe with. What were you going to say, Andrea? I
do like that at the end. It's like his daughter, how he always used his daughter, like his daughter was always a part of all the heists. Yeah. And then she was also a part of this one. And then the way they set up the end to make you think that he sent his daughter away and was like, stay hidden, be safe, don't let anyone find you. And then like all of that was a total fake out. And then his daughter is the one who saved the day. And it's just like, she had to be, we had to make you think this so she could put this cuff on your wrist. And I will say I did like the scene where Doric went full Hulk on.
Yes. Yes.
Oh yeah, she just started mashing her.
She was like, You reached her hand up, like, nope, you're staying down.
Yeah, puny god, almost. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like threw her into the bricks. And it's just like, you see the owlbear do this, but like this is still a human girl, like, or not human girl, but there's still like a girl shape shifting back into this, and it's just like, okay, you did Hulk out for a moment, and you're angry. You have a right to be angry. They were killing your people. I'm glad you got your revenge.
It was very satisfying. I hate in most movies where like the villain has been very villainous, but their treatment, of like how they die or whatever is not equal to their villainy. And I felt like she needed her ass beat.
She did. She needed Dory beat the brakes off of her.
Yeah.
I was honestly expecting limbs to get ripped apart. I was like I was expecting her beak to like tear off. I don't know what I was expecting Dory to go a little bit more ham.
Yeah.
This was only PG-13, so I guess they couldn't go too far.
Fair enough. That would be great if this was rated R.
Oh my god, if this was rated R.
So what do we rate this out of 10?
It was a 10 out of 10 for me. I don't know.
Really?
I'm gonna be honest, because I have watched this more than once all the way through without feeling the need to skip certain scenes. Mm-hmm. Like, some movies you just can't, like, there's some things you don't feel like watching anymore because it's a dead scene.
I don't know what that is.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Like, it doesn't, like, if you miss that scene, it doesn't take anything away from the movie.
Yeah, it's not very memorable.
Because it didn't feel like there was any scenes like that for me, and I didn't feel annoyed that I had to watch the entire movie over again.
Okay.
I'm going to give this movie a 10 out of 10 as well, because it has rewatchability for me.
Yeah.
And I can watch it over and over again and love every scene versus like, I'm going to go get a glass of water on this scene.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And one of my gripes with like movies that have fantasy elements in it is where the movies don't utilize the fantasy elements well. Mm-hmm. Like where people have magic, or like people have their roles, whether they're a paladin or like the strong person or a cleric or whatever, and like they don't make the best of these roles or these abilities. I feel like they did that really well in this movie, and so that's a 10 out of 10 for me. I'm like, if you are telling me that this person is this and it looks cool, that's a win for me.
Okay. I give it like an 8.5, mainly because it's rarely do I get something like a 9 or a 10. It was very enjoyable. I liked it. Like you said, it was very good use of the IP in general. I don't know how, because it's been a minute since I've played Dungeons and Dragons, but I'm not that steeped into it anymore. It's been a while since I've read the Forgotten Realms books and some of the other Dungeons and Dragons IP. But I got a kick out of recognizing the names that they mentioned and seeing some of the places on the map. But I don't know exactly how faithful they were to everything. Like I didn't recognize all of the creatures and characters that they had. They didn't call Chris Pine's character a bard, but I just assumed because he got that lute or that mandolin, whatever he pulls out, that's what he was. And he sang songs as they went along. They did call Zeneca Paladin outright. And of course, Simon's character was a sorcerer, and the villain was one of the red wizards of Thane or whatever. So, yeah, I think they were, from my standpoint, they were really faithful to it, and I enjoyed it. I didn't have too many gripes over it. And like I said, it is what it is. Some things you kind of have to accept. Like people kill me when they see giant kaiju films or something, they call it unrealistic. I'm like, well, it's a giant kaiju film. What are you expecting when you paid money to go into the theater to see that? That's what it is. What were you gonna say, Andrea?
So I was gonna say, on Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 91% from their like professional reviewers or whatever, and then a 93% audience score from over 2,500 reviews.
So that's rare that they're that close.
Yeah.
Usually there's a weird like gap between the reviews of the professional reviewers and like the user score of regular people, because I feel like sometimes the reviewers are either paid to say one way or the other, and then you kind of get the real score from the users. But then at the same time, when you get people like piling on and just hating for no reason, that because they don't like it or whatever, they just, so it's kind of hard. But when they're 91 and 93%, that's rare, I think, to get them that close together.
I feel like the secret sauce for this kind of stuff is like, if it's an IP, take the IP seriously, but like have fun with it. Like it's supposed to be fun, so it should feel fun,
Yeah.
Like the tone of it should be true,
Yeah. Man, another one down. Thank you guys again for taking the time out of your day to talk about these things with me. G-Nell, appreciate you jumping in the live stream again. I see there are 3 other lurkers, but they were the only ones that commented. So I appreciate y'all taking the time out of your day, whoever you are that popped into the live stream. This is the Askari cast, and don't forget to check out Trek and Beyond.
A Star Trek podcast. We're going into lower decks.
There you go. And like I said, there will be links to everybody's websites in the description of this episode when I upload it to it's not Anchor anymore, so Spotify podcasters.
Yeah.
So those of you on Spotify, I think we're at around 30 subscribers. We need 100 to get back to our regular sponsor where they'll sponsor us. So if you can kick in and subscribe to us on Spotify, we greatly appreciate it. We will talk to you all next week, maybe.
See y'all.
See you.